the fundamental stories have not been derailed. I bought some Expedia today. That story's been derailed. It's down from 160 to 105. But when you talk about the others, there's really volatility in the market that caused them to sell off. So until the fundamentals change, and we saw a little bit of that, at least in perception with Facebook, but that's recovered too. You're not going to see these sell.
Slower. I mean, Facebook's up 6%.
Right.
That's the one that seems to be in question for a number of other.
Yeah, that's got a little
issues.
Exactly right. That's exactly my point. That you haven't seen those issues with Amazon and the others you mentioned.
But I mean, Josh, if you thought some of these names were overvalued pre-correction, what do you make of what's happened since, and how strongly some of these have snapped back?
Well, let's look at those names. If you thought Netflix and Nvidia were overvalued, then you've probably thought that for most of the last 5 years. And in the meantime, they've gone up multiples of themselves. So maybe that framework doesn't always work on every sector of stock or in every market environment. I think big picture, you have to look at this week as very constructive, given the huge rally back that happened last week. So the S&P, if we go out right here, down about 0.2% on the week, which to me is great follow through. No reason to expect new highs right away after the trauma of early February. NASDAQ, however, is actually up 0.5% on the week. And when you look at, let's look at something like an Intel. So Intel is the best performing stock in the Dow today, bumping up against previous resistance, 4750, 4760. Stock looks phenomenal though, and this is a company that had nothing negative to say on the earnings report. Quite frankly, is not as stretched on valuation as some of the other names we talked about. And I think it's investable. It's got a good dividend, but that's not the only reason people buy it. People are buying it because it's got growth. It's in the right segments of the economy. So that's one example that's one example of 20 that I could give you. But bigger picture, blue chips with higher than average growth are not threatened by the rise in yields.
Courtney, here we go again, though, with a small number of stocks carrying the load for the rest of the market. And I say that, the Journal had that story about just 3 tech stocks are powering nearly half of the S&P 500's gains this year. Amazon accounting for 27% of the S&P, Microsoft 13, Netflix 8. Do we need to once again be having a conversation about breadth in this market narrowing and what that could ultimately mean?
I think that it actually is more widespread than that. You can talk about kind of those big guys carrying the weight, but we're seeing incredible things coming through this earnings season. It's a